What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Mishimoto channel. In this video, we're going to show you how to install our brand new intercooler for the 2024 Plus Toyota Tacoma. So let's get started. First off, allow the vehicle to cool completely, as this installation requires the removal of the radiator and draining of the cooling system. While this installation can be done with the vehicle on the ground, it will be helpful to have the vehicle on the lift to gain better access to the underside of the vehicle. Next, remove the engine under tray by removing the four 12mm under tray bolts. Depending on the trim level and modifications, this under tray may be slightly different or have different attachment points. Next, place a bucket underneath the driver's side of the radiator and begin draining the coolant from the radiator by loosening the drain valve. Once the coolant starts to flow, remove the coolant reservoir cap from the reservoir to allow the coolant to flow freely. After that, remove the 8 push clips holding the radiator support panel to the bumper and radiator. Remove the 4 push clips holding the intake duct to the vehicle and remove both parts from the vehicle. Next, remove the 3 10mm bumper bolts at the top of the bumper. Then disconnect the 2 electrical connectors on the passenger side of the bumper. Vehicles with a front bumper camera will also have another electrical connector on the driver's side of the bumper, which also must be disconnected. Now, from the wheel well, remove the 2 plastic push clips and 2 10mm screws holding the fender flare to the bumper, and then remove the next 2 or 3 10mm screws holding the fender flares to the wheel well. Then, starting at the bottom of the bumper, carefully pull the fender flare away from the bumper until the junction between the bumper and the fender is exposed. It may be necessary to reach behind the wheel well liner to manipulate the clips holding the fender flare to the bumper. Then repeat for the other side. Next, remove the 6 10mm bolts securing the bottom of the bumper, then move the felt wheel well liners out of the way and remove the final 2 10mm bolts to secure the bumper to the vehicle. Up next, remove the 2 Phillips head screws that secure the bumper to the vehicle underneath the headlight and carefully pull the bumper away from the vehicle from the wheel well. Once the corners of the bumper are loose, pull the bumper directly forward and remove the bumper assembly from the vehicle, while being careful to make sure that no lines or electrical connectors remain connected to the bumper. Next, remove the 3 push clips holding the lower intercooler duct to the vehicle. Then make sure to disconnect the clip holding the wiring harness to the passenger side duct. Then remove the other 6 holding the side ducts to the vehicle. Then remove the 2 hoses on the inlet of the intercooler and move out of the way. For the next step, remove both charge pipes from the vehicle, disconnect the quick disconnect ends by pushing the wire clip apart as shown, and pull away from the connection on the intercooler, turbo outlet, and throttle body. Once that's done, remove the 2 10mm coolant reservoir bolts that secure the reservoir to the fan shroud. After that, disconnect the smaller upper coolant reservoir hose from the radiator. As you remove the coolant reservoir, there will be one hose connected to the bottom of the reservoir. Remove this hose from the reservoir and remove the reservoir from the vehicle. Then remove the fan shroud electrical connector as well as the map sensor electrical connector and disconnect the clips holding the wire harness to the fan shroud and radiator. After that, disconnect the small upper radiator hose from the radiator and the second coolant hose connected to the transmission cooler. Next, remove the three 10mm bolts securing the transmission cooler to the fan shroud. Then set the cooler aside, but do not completely remove it as there will be lines attached to it. After that, clamp off the two transmission lines connected to the radiator and then remove the lines from the radiator. Be careful to clean up any transmission fluid that comes out. It is helpful to cap off the fittings on the radiator to prevent leakage during the removal. Next, remove the two main radiator lines from the radiator. The lower hose will have two white clamps connecting the hose to the fan shroud. Make sure to disconnect the sensor on the upper hose. Then disconnect the clip holding the wire harness to the radiator and disconnect the temperature sensor connector from the intercooler outlet. Just a note, hybrid models will have two extra hoses connected to the bottom of the radiator end tanks as well as the two radiator hardlines connected to the fan shroud with a 10mm bolt. Disconnect these hoses and remove the radiator hardlines from the fan shroud. After that, remove the four 10mm fan shroud bolts securing the fan shroud to the radiator and lift it out of the vehicle. Next, remove the four 10mm fasteners holding the AC condenser to the radiator. In addition, remove the one 10mm bolt holding the AC line to the core support to allow more movement in the AC condenser. Carefully remove the AC condenser from the radiator and let it sit on the lower core support, or use bungee cords to support the AC condenser during radiator removal. Next, remove the six 12mm bolts holding the radiator to the core support. After that, remove the radiator and intercooler assembly from the vehicle. Make sure that the radiator does not get stuck on the AC line on the driver's side. After that, remove the four 10mm bolts securing the intercooler to the radiator. Remove the 17mm temperature sensor from the outlet of the intercooler. Transfer the sensor to the Mishimoto intercooler with the new included crush washer and torque to 15 foot-pounds. Keep the yellow plastic cap on the inlet and outlet during installation to prevent damage to machined surfaces. After that, install the included red metal fittings onto the two ports on the inlet side of the intercooler. The smaller fitting is 15mm, which should be torqued down to 10 foot-pounds. And the larger fitting is 19mm, which should be torqued down to 20 foot-pounds. Make sure that the bushings are pre-installed onto the passenger side of the Mishimoto intercooler. If they are not, first install the rubber part of the bushing and then install the metal insert from the front. Install the Mishimoto intercooler onto the radiator. There should be hooks on the top mounting points to hold the intercooler in place while installing the four factory 10mm bolts. Torque those bolts down to 53 inch-pounds. Before installing the radiator and intercooler assembly, install the included adhesive-backed foam strip on the top of the intercooler in the location shown. The foam strip should be installed right up to the serial plate. It may be necessary to clean the top of the intercooler with degreaser or alcohol for optimal adhesion. Once that's done, raise the intercooler and radiator assembly into the vehicle. It may be necessary to have a second person help as the assembly will now be significantly heavier. Use the hooks on the radiator to hold the radiator in place and install the 2 top radiator bolts loosely and then install the 4 lower radiator bolts. Then you can go ahead and tighten all 6 12mm radiator bolts to 13 foot-pounds. After that, reinstall the 2 10mm nuts and 2 10mm bolts securing the AC condenser to the radiator. You can go ahead and torque those down to 87 inch-pounds. Then reinstall the 10mm bolt securing the AC line to the core support. Then reinstall the 2 side ducts on the core support and reinstall the 3 push clips on each side. Once that's done, take the Mishimoto rubber duct and line it up with the 2 holes in the side ducts and the hole in the back middle bracket. Then place the included flat bracket underneath the duct and thread in the included 4 8mm bolts in the threaded holes on the bottom of the intercooler. After that, tighten each bolt hand tight and then tighten each bolt to approximately 50 inch-pounds. Check to make sure that none of the bolts have become loose during this process as the rubber depresses, causing the bolt to come loose. After that, reinstall the fan shroud and tighten the 4 10mm bolts to 9 foot-pounds. Then reinstall the transmission oil cooler and lines. Retorque the 3 10mm bolts to 49 inch-pounds. Now remember to also reconnect the transmission lines going into the radiator tank. For hybrid vehicles, reconnect the coolant hard lines and other lines going to the bottom of the radiator tanks on each side. Reinstall the main upper and lower radiator hoses and clamps. Once that's done, connect the vacuum lines to the red fittings on the inlet of the intercooler. Then reconnect the electrical connectors for the fan and map sensor and reattach the clips that hold the wiring harness to the radiator. Reconnect the upper radiator hose temperature sensor and the air temperature sensor on the outlet of the intercooler. Once that's done, reinstall the coolant reservoir. Remember to reconnect the hose at the bottom of the reservoir. Torque the two 10mm bolts to 71 inch-pounds. Reinstall the charge air pipes. Take special care installing the pipes onto the Mishimoto intercooler as the aluminum can easily be scratched and affect charge pipe sealing. Make sure to hear a positive click when the charge pipes are fully seated. The procedure is the same for stock or Mishimoto charge pipes. If you're using Mishimoto charge pipes, make sure the coupler is in the correct position to allow worm gear clamps to be behind the bead roll of the pipe while still on the coupler. After that, reinstall the bumper and fender flare. The top 10mm bumper bolts should be torqued to 49 inch-pounds and the bottom bolt should be torqued down to 7 foot-pounds. Remember to reconnect all electrical connections on the bumper and remount the connectors where applicable. Up next, reinstall the upper radiator panel and intake air duct and reinstall the 12 push clips. Then using a coolant vacuum filler, refill the cooling system and check for leaks. Check the transmission fluid level and add fluid if necessary. For hybrid vehicles, fill and bleed the inverter cooling system as well. Last but not least, reinstall the lower under tray panel and torque the bolts down to 16 foot-pounds. Alright, so that's it for this video, but if you want to purchase this product for yourself, hit the first link down below in the description, subscribe to our channel, and we'll see you all on the next one.